Today's topic is the Greek language, or
Ελληνικά,
as it's called in Greek. The word Greek is a word that instantly brings to mind images of ancient civilizations and culture. It may not be the most widely spoken language in the world today, but it did play an extremely influential role in the development of other European languages and in European culture in general. Today it's spoken by more than 13 million native speakers, mainly in Greece, where it's the only official language and is spoken by 11 million people, the Republic of Cyprus, where it's spoken by around 975,000 people, and by minorities in parts of Albania, Italy, and Turkey, as well as by Greek immigrants living all around the world. Whether you realize it or not, if you know English, you know some Greek. Around 6% of the vocabulary of English is of Greek origin, and some estimates reach as high as 12 to 15%. And if we look specifically at the sciences and technology, the proportion of Greek words and roots skyrockets dramatically. When you mention the encyclopedia, or when you talk about physics class, or when you ask for the butter, you're using words that developed from Greek. History. Greek is a member of the Hellenic branch of the Indo-European language family. Some consider Hellenic to be a single language branch consisting of only Greek, while others consider some varieties of modern Greek to be closely related but separate languages. The development of Greek can be broken down into a number of stages. Proto-Greek. Proto-Greek, or Proto-Hellenic, developed from Proto-Indo-European and was probably spoken in the 3rd millennium BCE, over 4,000 years ago, as Hellenic people migrated into the Balkan Peninsula, or maybe even earlier, depending on where and when Proto-Indo-European originated. Mycenaean Greek. Mycenaean Greek is the form of Greek that developed in Mycenaean Greece in the 2nd millennium BCE, when the Greek mainland's first advanced civilization arose. The earliest known Greek text comes from this period, dating back to around 1400 BCE. It's a clay tablet written in a writing system called Linear B, not the system that we know today as the Greek alphabet. The existence of such tablets makes Greek the oldest recorded living language. To be clear, there are older texts written in other languages, like Sumerian, Egyptian hieroglyphics, and Akkadian, but those are all dead languages, while Greek has lived on until today. Sometime toward the end of the Mycenaean Greek stage, or in the early part of the ancient Greek stage, the Greek alphabet was adopted. The date of adoption is around 1100 BCE, plus or minus a couple hundred years, we're not quite sure. The Greek alphabet was derived from the Phoenician alphabet, with Greek adopting and modifying the Phoenician letters and generally keeping similar sounds for each one. There are also several unique Greek letters that did not derive from Phoenician. You may notice that some of the symbols are reversed. That might be explained by the fact that Phoenician was written from right to left, while Greek is written from left to right. At first there were numerous local varieties of the Greek alphabet, but the standard 24-letter Greek alphabet became widespread throughout the Greek-speaking world during the 4th century BCE. In Cyprus, a different script called the Cypriotic syllabary was used between the 11th and 4th centuries BCE, when the Greek alphabet was finally adopted. The Greek alphabet would eventually give rise to numerous other alphabets, including the Latin alphabet, the Coptic alphabet, the Cyrillic alphabet, and the Gothic alphabet. Ancient Greek. The adoption of the Greek alphabet took place around the beginning of the Ancient Greek stage of the language, which lasted from about the 9th century BCE until the 4th century BCE. This stage of the language corresponds to the archaic and classical periods of Greek history. The oldest existing Greek literature, and indeed some of the oldest Western literature, dates from this period, including the 2 epic poems, the Iliad and the Odyssey, which are attributed to Homer. There were various dialects of ancient Greek at the time, including Attic, the dialect of Athens, as well as Ionic. These epic poems were written in Homeric Greek, a literary form of the language based on the Ionic dialect of Greek with elements of some other dialects. During the classical period of Greek history, more texts of tremendous importance to Western civilization were written in ancient Greek, including the works of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, and many texts of foundational importance in logic, math, and science. Koine Greek. With the conquests of Alexander the Great in the 4th century BCE, the Greek language became widespread in a form known as Koine Greek, Koine meaning common. It was based mainly on the Attic and Ionic dialects, with some elements of others as well, and it served as a lingua franca throughout the conquered regions. It was spoken most widely in the eastern Mediterranean region. A large amount of important literature was written in Koine Greek, including the New Testament and the Septuagint, a Greek translation of the Old Testament. Koine Greek remained the lingua franca of the Eastern Mediterranean region during the Roman Empire and became the official language of the Byzantine Empire until the 15th century. Medieval Greek. Medieval Greek, also known as Byzantine Greek, developed from Koine Greek during the Byzantine Empire. During this period, the spoken language based on Koine Greek began to develop towards modern Greek, while written Greek tended to be more conservative and similar to ancient Greek. Modern Greek. The end of the Byzantine Empire marks the beginning of the modern Greek period. During the modern Greek period, two forms of Greek arose. The first was Demotic, or
Δημοτική,
which means by the people. This is the modern spoken form of the Greek language. The second was
καθαρεύουσα,
a literary form of Greek with features of both Demotic Greek and ancient Greek. This resulted in a state of diglossia, with the spoken language and the formal written language being significantly different, until the adoption of Demotic as the official language of Greece in 1976. That form of Demotic is referred to as Standard Modern Greek. There are several dialects of Modern Greek as well: Northern dialects, Ionian Peloponnesian dialects, Southern dialects, Shikoni, Old Athenian, and there's also the Cypriot dialect, spoken on the island of Cyprus. With one exception, the endangered Shikonian dialect, all forms of modern Greek developed from Koine Greek. Despite its long history and its different stages of development, the Greek language has changed relatively little compared to other languages during the same time frame. My understanding is that speakers of modern Greek can look at an ancient Greek text and recognize a lot of familiar vocabulary, a lot of familiar words, even if they can't make sense of the sentence itself. This relative lack of change in the language is probably the result of ancient Greek's continued influence on written Greek throughout the centuries. So, what is Greek like? Let's examine some of the features of Greek, specifically modern Greek. Syntax. There's disagreement over whether Greek's default word order is SVO or VSO, but the most common word order is SVO. Look at this sentence here.
Εμείς μιλάμε ελληνικά.
This sentence means we speak Greek. Here's the subject, the verb, and the object. But in Greek, the subject pronoun is not always necessary.
Μιλάμε ελληνικά.
The subject pronoun isn't necessary here because we know from the verb conjugation that this is the first person plural. So the subject pronoun is typically used when you want to draw attention to it or make it the topic of the sentence. Despite SVO being the most common word order in Greek, the words can actually be arranged in different ways, usually to put focus on one element of the sentence. Here's a sentence that means Yannis loves Maria.
Ο Γιάννης αγαπάει τη Μαρία.
This sentence here is SVO, and notice that the definite article comes before proper names.
Τη Μαρία αγαπάει ο Γιάννης.
This time it's OVS.
Ο Γιάννης τη Μαρία αγαπάει.
This time it's SOV.
Τη Μαρία ο Γιάννης αγαπάει.
This time it's OSV. These three word orders here are all ways of drawing focus to the object of the sentence. It's possible to change the order of the words like this because grammatical case inflections tell us the noun's function, even if it's in a different location. There are four grammatical cases in Greek: nominative, genitive, accusative, and vocative. In sentences like these with proper names, the names themselves don't have case inflections, but the definite articles do. Notice that the two definite articles are different. We'll come back to that in a minute. Let's look at another sentence and see the noun's case inflection.
Έχασα τα νέα γυαλιά μου.
This sentence means, I lost my new glasses. Word for word it's, lost, I, which we know from the inflection, the, new, glasses, my. This word,
Γυαλιά,
which means glasses, is an inflected form of the neuter noun,
γυαλί,
which means glass. It's the nominative, accusative, and vocative plural form. Yes, it can be all three of those. Also, the definite article is inflected to agree with the noun. This is the neuter, nominative, accusative plural form of the definite article. As you can see, there are several other forms of the definite article too. Let's go back to an earlier sentence for a second. This definite article here, before Yannis, is in the masculine singular nominative form. And this definite article here, before Maria, is in the feminine singular accusative form. Even when the word order changed, the definite articles stayed the same, allowing us to know which person was the subject, the nominative case, and which one was the object, the accusative case. Also, the adjective is inflected to agree with the noun. This is the neuter nominative accusative vocative plural form. Now let's change the noun in the sentence and see what happens.
Έχασα το νέο σκύλο μου.
This means I lost my new dog. This time the noun is inflected to show the masculine singular accusative form. The definite article is also in the masculine singular accusative form. And so is the adjective. The main thing I want you to notice here is that the noun, but also the words that come together with the noun, like the definite article and the adjective, change form to show case, but also gender and number. Verbs. Greek verbs have two different stems, two different forms. One to show perfect mood, which means an action is complete, and one to show imperfect mood, which means an action is incomplete. Then various affixes, particles, and auxiliary verbs are added to these two stems to show past tense and non-past tense. Let's examine the verb meaning to help. This is the perfect stem, showing completed action.
Βοηθήσω.
And this is the imperfect stem.
Βοηθάω.
Now let's look at how to create some verb tenses based on these stems. Here's the present tense.
Βοηθάω το φίλο μου.
This means I am helping my friend, and this could also mean I help my friend in a general sense. The present tense form is based on the imperfect stem, because the action is not complete yet, it's happening now. Here's the imperfect tense.
Βοηθούσα το φίλο μου.
This means I was helping my friend, or I used to help my friend. Again, this form is based on the imperfect stem, because the action was continuing at a certain point in the past. Now here's the simple past.
Βοήθησα το φίλο μου.
This means I helped my friend. The simple past is based on the perfect verb stem because the action is complete. Future.
Θα βοηθήσω το φίλο μου.
This means I will help my friend. The simple future tense is also based on the perfect stem because it's an action with a start and a finish. It's not a continuing action. And the present perfect.
Έχω βοηθήσει το φίλο μου πολλές φορές.
This means I have helped my friend many times. The present perfect is also based on the perfect stem, as you might have guessed from its name, because the action has been done at some point in the past. Also notice the auxiliary verb, which is the first person singular form of the verb meaning to have. Let's look at one final Greek sentence and see what we discover.
Εμείς ερωτευτήκαμε και παντρευτήκαμε αμέσως.
This sentence means we fell in love and got married immediately. Word for word it's we fall in love, past tense, first person plural inflection, and get married, past tense, first person plural, immediately. This verb
Ερωτεύομαι,
means to fall in love. This verb
παντρεύομαι,
means to get married. This ending is the first person plural past tense conjugation. This piece here shows past tense, and this piece shows number and person. These two verbs are not active verbs, but rather mediopassive verbs. You might see the word passive there and think that these are passive verbs, but mediopassive verbs are not always passive. They might also be intransitive or reflexive or reciprocal. In this case, they seem to be reciprocal, meaning that both people are doing the action to each other or with each other. This ending here on the dictionary form of the verb is a hint that it's a mediopassive verb. One of the main things you may have noticed about Greek is that it's a highly inflected language with lots of different word forms and lots of different endings that can attach to nouns and to verb stems, and that might seem kind of intimidating. But there are lots of languages out there that are much more inflected than Greek, so please don't be scared of that. The story of the Greek language is a very long and spectacular one, and there's so much to say about Greek that we can't fit into this video, but hopefully you were a little bit inspired to learn more about Greek, one of the oldest languages in the world, and a language that has influenced many other languages, and the very foundations of Western civilization and thought. Okay, the question of the day. To native speakers of Greek, how well can you understand written Greek from the past, like Koine Greek and ancient Greek? And to people who have studied Greek, what did you find challenging and not so challenging about Greek? Be sure to follow LangFocus on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And as always, I would like to say thank you to all of my wonderful Patreon supporters, especially these people right here on the screen, for their monthly pledges. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.